Chapter 17 of Poppy is called A Surprising Conversation. Here we go. Poppy woke refreshed. For a moment, she lay still, luxuriating in her discoveries. She imagined telling her family what a phony Mr. Oakes was. What a delicious moment. Yes, it was time to return home. Realizing that she was very hungry, Poppy first treated herself to a big meal, eating only the plumpest corn kernels. Hadn't she deserved them? Gradually, she ate her way over to the dirt road that ran alongside Dimwood Forest. With her mouth full and her belly tight, she gazed across the wall of pine and fir trees. She had feared it before. Now, knowing it, she recalled only its dark beauty and its deep fascination. The forest made her think of Aerith and her promise. How was she going to get him that salt? She still had no idea. Then and there she vowed that once she got home, she would return, maybe this time with Cousin Basil. And then perhaps the two of them, maybe they could find a way. Poppy thought now about Mr. Oakes too. Wouldn't it be fun to tell him what she had discovered? The image of it made herself grin. The liar, the bully. It was while she was thinking about him that she spied him. Mr. Oakes was perched deep within the foliage on a small tree right by the edge of the forest. If it had not been for the slanting rays of the sun, Poppy might never, ever have noticed him. It was the light of his glowing eyes that caught her attention. Poppy crept forward. When she came near the row of corn closest to the forest, she looked up again. A moody Mr. Oakes was staring at the barn across from the field. He kept moving his head about, back, forward, side to side, hissing and clacking his beak. Sometimes his black talons kneaded the branch with nervous tension. At other times, he ruffled his feathers. He lifted his wings. He let his head sink lower. Poppy could tell that he was miserable. He was sulking. She had to marvel at how different he appeared from the time that she'd seen him, watching the tree in the rain. All that glaring and hissing. He's just a frightened bully, she said to herself with jubilation. She had to slap a paw over her mouth to keep from laughing out loud. What fun it would be to humiliate him. Just the idea brought her a feeling of power. Unable to resist teasing him, she called out, "Mr. Oakes!" The owl, taken by surprise, looked up, down, around. "Here!" Poppy cried. "In the corn! It's me, Poppy!" Mr. Oakes hunched over and peered in her general direction. "Show yourself," he said harshly. "I'll stay here where I am, thank you," Poppy returned. Wedged in, as she was among the corn stalks, she felt totally secure. She knew that he could not reach her there. "Mr. Oakes," she called, "is it the owl on the barn that you're looking at?" "What's it to you?" he growled. "You're frightened of it, aren't you?" Poppy said. Mr. Oakes opened his beak, but no sound came out. Instead, he kept peering into the corn. Poppy said, "It's awful to be frightened, isn't it?" "What did you say?" "I said, it's not fun being frightened, is it?" Here's a picture. To this, Mr. Oakes said nothing. "I could tell you a little something about that owl," Poppy called, feeling altogether giddy with her knowledge. "What is that something?" the owl asked. "You want to talk about it?" Poppy offered, suppressing a giggle. "Well, I might as well say it to you. I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to tell my family." Mr. Oakes shifted uncomfortably in his perch. I'll talk, he said. Then he added, but we could talk more easily if I could see you. To Poppy's ears, the owl's tone had shifted. It was not nearly so hostile as it had been. What are your thoughts on that? Was she only imagining that? Should she trust him? But even as she asked herself that question, she thought, oh, the look on his face when I tell him that bird that he's so frightened of is nothing but a fake. Aloud, she called out, would you really like to talk about it with me? Yes, I would, said Mr. Oakhacks. You seem to be a very smart mouse. Poppy blushed. No one had ever called her smart before. This, she had to admit, was a different side to Mr. Oakhacks than what she had known. Ragweed, in this way, had challenged him. As for her father, he had been very timid in his approach. Perhaps the owl would respect someone who stood up to him politely but firmly. Do you really think I'm smart? She inquired. Okay, friends, how are you feeling right now? I'm thinking I'm a little nervous for Poppy. Why, I certainly do, the owl said. Yes, perhaps the two of us could just sit down and talk. The two smart ones. Maybe we can work something out. Poppy felt a stirring of excitement. Here she was, Poppy, talking in a perfectly reasonable way with the great Mr. Oakhacks. It was she, with her new knowledge, who had gained the power. Perhaps instead of humiliating him, she could work things out reasonably so that all the mice could move to Newhouse. Wouldn't that be a trophy to bring home? So thinking, she moved from her hiding place onto the little dirt road. Yes, Mr. Oakhacks said soothingly. Let the two of us talk things over. I think that we should find some reasonable solution. All right, said Poppy. Boldly she stepped further out onto the road. She looked up, but Mr. Oakhacks was gone. Where are you? She cried. And at that moment, the owl plunged down upon her from behind. Were you guys fearing the worst too? I was thinking Poppy should not trust him. Friends, that's the end of our chapter.